Hello, my name is Dan Johnson and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the brand new War Master set. We've not had one of these for about a year and I'm quite excited to bring them back. I think this is the first one I've reviewed, but I actually have the entire collection of War Master box sets so far. It's been a range that I've really got into and I've really enjoyed every instalment. And today we have his greatest trick, which sees the War Master in 4 separate stories taking place during the Time War, which is also one of my favourite times in Doctor Who. The first story has the Daleks and the Time Lords teaming up secretly to take out the Master because he's a threat to them all. The dynamic and just the general idea of these two teaming up is really exciting and is a fun dynamic for them to have within the story, especially with the Master having to trick them both. The episode title, The Grievance Bureau, is a company that create clones for essentially the rich and those that can afford it, that can make a perfect double of somebody that you can either attack, use for evil ends, whatever you may like. And I think it made the episode even more interesting because there was that element of, are we talking to the real Master now? Are we talking to the real Time Lords or the real Daleks? Has this all been orchestrated by the Master? And I loved that idea of not quite knowing who was who. I do think the only letdown of this is that you kind of understand that somewhere, somehow, there has to be a connection to the clones, and it kind of ruins the big surprise. But the dark idea of this clone agency is a really fun thing for this story, and the satisfaction of the Master going up against these two forces is really great. Episode 2, entitled Last Girl Standing, scared me for the first 10 minutes because I was worried that we were going to get a story that wasn't about the Time War, that this box set, the cover art of this box set with the Daleks and the Cybermen and the Master in the centre of it was only going to be the first story, because I was burnt by that in the Space Security Service series. But I really enjoyed the idea behind this story. The idea that this school of aliens are under the Master's thumb, as he is the headmaster, and he makes them complete challenges and puts them against each other for a title. I think it's head girl that he puts it towards. And I found that a really fun story, and it was able to show off some of the Master's darker sides, and it made a sort of gothic image in my head of this sort of 1920s school. For some reason, I know it's a space school, but still, there was that sort of gothic look to it that made the episode really interesting. I think it's been a great return with these first 2 stories, that we have the Master being the Master in many respects. I think the previous box sets, the last couple of box sets have felt a little bit sort of middling to me. The previous one, Future Phantoms, which is the best comparison, is essentially a Big Finish original telling ghost stories, because it came around October time. And it was a great set. I was able to hear some really great horror stories, but at the same time, I really just wanted to see the Master being evil to people. I think that he has been more evil in the past, and compared to some of the stuff that he's done in previous box sets, this is by no means as horrific as some of that. It's actually quite a polite way of ruining people's lives. I don't think it's a spoiler to say in a Master box set that the Master's not going to be nice. But I do love Derek Jacobi's performance. He is so charming. There is these elements of him being nice, but then him also being evil, and the way that he's able to sort of play with that delivery is lovely. He reminds me a lot of Delgado's Master, because in Masterful, which came out a few years ago, that's celebrating 50 years of the Master. I loved that story, by the way. I've listened to that so many times. I think it's such an amazing epic. But in that story, Jo Jones, I think it's Jo Jones, not Jo Grant in that story, she talks about how she likes the Master's devilish charm, and how he's so polite, and it makes you think that he's juggling a bit of niceness and a bit of, maybe not compassion, but he's juggling elements where he's kind of a good guy. And I think that this Master has the same traits, and I love that. I think that it's a really fun Master to follow, and it's quite unique especially with the new Who Masters, where with Sacha Dhawan's, you know you're going to get that moment when he is just crazy, and he's chaos. But this Master is probably, just like in Masterful, probably the only one that is competent and is able to actually execute his plans properly. Episode 3 takes place in a refugee camp and is talking about the idea that planets have disappeared because of the Time War. Where do all these people that have lost their world go? And it explores characters that may have been dispersed. And I see that a few times in the Gallifrey range that I've only just kind of got into. I've only had 2 box sets of it because of the delays that it's had in production. But the thing I like about this idea and the idea of the Time War anyway is that everyone's kind of been ruined. Their lives have been ruined. And the only 2 that seem to actually be okay is the Daleks and the Time Lords. And even then, they are still fighting each other with such blindness to everything around them that everyone's getting dispersed. But anyway, back to the story. This story is a bit of a bulky one. There's a lot going on here. We have an escape. We have Daleks. We also have the Master talking to a companion-esque character called Carla, and I think that she's a really interesting element, and I really do like her story. Her final scene, particularly, is very good. I did struggle with this story initially. I had to listen to it a couple of times to actually appreciate it. I think it was just because I found it a little bit too hard to follow. We changed location a couple of times. We have a lot of characters to try and understand, and I found that a bit much at first. But then when I start honing in on characters individually, I felt like it was a really well-written story. And in episode 4, the Master seeks a doomsday weapon, which feels like where the title of the box set came from. So no spoilers from me, but it is definitely his greatest trick. And finally, would I recommend this box set? And definitely I would. I really enjoyed all 4 stories. I thought that they had great elements to them. Like I say, I love the Time War, I love this Master and his charm, and everything about Derek Jacobi's performance, plus Derek Jacobi sounds like a really cool guy. So I was really, really into this box set. By the end of this box set, though, I feel like the Master has evolved, and I'm looking forward to seeing where we're going to go next. We have a fresh new take on the Master. I do think it's slightly difficult, because we have his first box set, Only the Good, I think it was called, also being the end to the Master. So there's going to be that problem. But I'm excited as to what they plan to do with it. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a like, subscribe if you're new. I have the Season 13 box set behind me that you can occasionally see when I move my head. I plan to do a video on that early next week. Hopefully it will be out by Monday. But I also have lots of other Big Finish reviews currently out and more to come. I plan to do a video talking about the Doctor Who vinyls. I think I spoke about that months ago. I still have it on the SD card and I'm editing it, but it's a long video. It's taking a while. Just bear with me on that one. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.